Mary Kay Andrews and all our friends in the hundreds has signed up for this incredible celebration of bright lights, big Christmas, which should be in everybody's stocking this year. Because let me tell you, Mary Kay, you hit it out of the park. I live in Greenwich Village. We took a walkabout today just to get into Carrie Tolliver's world. And here it is, just as you describe it in the book, where the truck is. Can everybody see that? Yes, you can. We love this because we have these glorious like corridors of pine on every street corner. And Mary Kay, you nailed it. You captured it. You wrote Greenwich Village in such a beautiful way. We love it.
Oh,
Did you
thanks,
have fun
Adriana.
writing this?
I did. I went to New York and I had seen an article in the New York Times about the family from Vermont that inspired my story. And so I went to the village and tracked down the Romp family and interviewed them about selling trees and living in a camper. And I love to be in the city at Christmas time. So this is kind of my little Christmas card to everybody like me. If you can't get to the city, hopefully you can buy this book and I'll take you to the city.
That's right. It's the perfect travel guide too. You texted me or emailed me and said, did I nail Greenwich Village? Oh my gosh, all of the sparkle and twinkle and Christmassy feeling that you get when you walk through the village is right here. And it's a great love story, but of course it's the holidays, so it's fraught with family. I mean, and I love how you came up with how you got Carrie to New York. Can you speak to that, Mary Kay? Tell us a little bit about that, because I could so relate.
Yeah, Carrie is a member of a family. They've been growing Christmas trees in the mountains of Western North Carolina for four generations. And this year, for many years, her family's gone. They take a little vintage camper, canned ham camper they've named Spammy. But this year, Carrie's dad can't go. He's been in the hospital with a heart attack. And so Carrie gets drafted. She gets guilt tripped into making the trip with her older brother, Murphy. And she and Murphy, I mean, they love each other, but they don't know each other. Her parents split up when she was 7, and she hasn't been to the city since then. And so when they're gonna live in this trailer for a month, and it's pretty tight quarters. So I think whenever you compact somebody, then the pressure's on, and especially if it's your gruff older brother who doesn't really have a whole lot to say for himself.
There's just something so wonderful and warm in the concept of this, that a family takes a camper, parks it on the corner, relies on the kindness of strangers for their showers and their bathrooms and their kitchens, and this wonderful feeling of family. So you put this relationship that needs work, this brother and sister in their adult life, and you put them in this camper and you put them in a place where they're having to sell these trees because they want to do well for dad.
Yeah, this is their one shot at it. If you're a Christmas tree grower, you've got such a narrow window to really, as we say in the South, you got to make your crop. And if you've only got 5 weeks to do it, the pressure is on. And I wanted Carrie. Carrie is from a small town, but she's never felt at home there. She's never felt like she belongs. She feels like she's an alien that got beamed down to the wrong planet. But when she gets to the city and when she gets to Greenwich Village, to the West Village, all of a sudden things start to happen. And she makes a journey, not just a physical journey, but she makes a journey of discovery.
Yeah. And you have this way where I haven't read a book that does this, but you really bring this truth out about Greenwich Village, which really, New York City, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't live here, it's a bunch of little small towns, kind of all hooked together by streets. So you really captured our West Village community. We all know each other.
Right. When I went to the village with my literary agent, Stuart Kraszewski. He was my spirit guide. So I went with him to the village, and it was so funny because we were walking down the street and we bumped into a mutual writer friend of ours, Adri.
Oh my gosh.
John Searle and his dog, Ruby. Ruby has her own Instagram account called Oh My God, It's Ruby. And he said, oh, yeah, I know Billy. We always buy our trees from Billy. And, we bumped into people, and people were so kind and generous. And I think people have the wrong idea about the city. I think I've never had anybody be unkind.
Well, we get bad press, and I don't understand it, because as far as excitement goes, I mean, it's a pretty great place, and it's also very homey.
Definitely.
They just show the worst things on, in the media, but it's actually just like growing up in a small town in a lot of ways. It really is, except you don't have skyscrapers in small towns.
Not normally, no.
But you got trees. And I love the whole North Carolina and having to come up in that truck and having to transport the trees, and this whole idea of that small window that you spoke to. Folks have read it. They love it. Their beautiful comments are pouring in. And this is a beautiful thing. This is from Erica. She says, in the book, Hines tells Carrie, nobody else's opinion matters unless you honestly believe you are making good art. How do you push through when you doubt yourself? What a great question for our national treasure, Mary Kay Andrews.
I face that question every time I sit down, with my handy composition book that I write in, because I write longhand in a composition book on the first draft. And I face that every time I sit down, and I just have to tell myself, and I think everybody who does something creative probably faces those same self-doubts. And of course, Carrie's been knocked down a little bit. She's been working as a graphic artist, even though she's trained in fine art. And when she loses that job, that really, it takes the wind out of her sails. And she really has started to doubt herself and doubt her abilities. But, when she gets to the city and she has this friendship with this little boy, all of a sudden, she rediscovers her passion for creating.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting because your books all have this element of the person who's a seeker, whose life isn't quite where she or he wants it to be. And you present your characters with challenges that everybody, I'm looking at where everybody's from. It's from California to New York to Minneapolis to North Carolina to Florida. It's a national thing that you're tapping, which is the right to be happy and productive in what you really want to do with your life.
Yeah, I think, I faced a challenge like that when I was a newspaper reporter. I wanted to write, but I had editors who weren't very encouraging to me, even though I'd been doing it for my whole career. And it wasn't until I really told myself every day, nobody else gets to decide who I am or what I can and can't do. And I think if you don't believe in yourself, nobody will believe in you.
It's so true. But you make it sound like we can do it, Mary Kay, and we believe you, but we want to know how you do it. What's your formula? I notice you have a lot of interest. There's a lot of beauty in your books, and there's a lot of you pull people together in your books. In life, you also do that, don't you?
I try to be sort of a connective tissue, if you will. Actually, it ain't no secret that I'm an extreme extrovert. And so when I can get out from behind a computer, I love to meet, friends and go out on the road and meet people who love books. And of course, booksellers are the very best. But I think to have a friend, you've got to be a friend. And you have to let other people be friends to you. So sometimes it's hard for us to accept help from other people,
Oh, yeah.
And I think that's part of what happens in Bright Lights, Big Christmas. There's an older gentleman in the book, Hines, and he doesn't want anything from anybody.
He's your character he's your character that's really a solo act. He doesn't think he needs people. He doesn't need love. He doesn't, but we all do.
Sure. Yeah. He's had some trauma in his life. And so he decides the way to deal with trauma is to shut down. close himself off from anything that could hurt him. And I think that happens to so many people.
Do you, do you think the holidays, and particularly big Christmas, the big Christmas aspect of this, do you think that it brings out our need to sort of reflect and think about our regrets and think about how we're going to build our futures?
Yeah, I mean, it's a time when you think about the good and the bad, and you try to think, how can I be a better version of myself? I do anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And how to step outside of your own selfish needs and think about other people. And the end of the year is a summing up time for all of us. We're summing up what happened in the year past, and hopefully feeling optimistic and hopeful for the next year. And if there's anything I always want to end my books on a hopeful note.
A happy ending.
Yeah.
We need it. We really need it.
We crave it.
Can you talk about Christmas trees? Because I've never heard such fabulous descriptions of Christmas trees. What is it about a Christmas tree? We have my little one. I brought this in for you. I have them all over the house. What is it about it? It draws you in, the warmth of it, the lights. What is it about a Christmas tree? You chose, to me, the most romantic element of Christmas to tell this story of self-invention.
I think the fact that you're bringing a living, well, it was formerly a living thing. You're chopping down a tree, you're dragging it into your house, you're putting little shiny objects on it, and lots of times the shiny objects mean something to us. Yeah. I love the smell of a fresh cut tree. We have little fake trees in different rooms of the house, but we've always had a real tree in the living room. That's our family tree with the presents underneath it and the stockings hung by the mantle. So, trees are a huge cash crop in North Carolina, where the book starts out. North Carolina is the second biggest tree growing state in the country. So wow. I was just up in the mountains this past weekend, and we passed Christmas tree farms as we were driving.
Can you also assuage everyone's fears about the environmental aspects of this? It's actually good for the environment to grow and cut the trees, isn't it?
Yeah. It's like any other cash crop that you grow. The trees are grown to be cut. Every year, farmers start growing more. It takes years for a tree to reach maturity that they can be harvested. So in the meantime, they're out there doing their thing. And I see somebody saying they have 5 trees in their house.
They have 5 trees. I love her. Yes.
Yeah.
That's from Susie Baldwin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think and then of course, once the tree is down, we put ours in our backyard and let it, we have a big backyard, admittedly. But we let the needles, decompose, and, the squirrels and the birds are doing their thing in there. So, I think it's and it's huge. It's a huge source of income to a lot of farmers.
Well, I know we completely recycle and repurpose and make mulch out of the trees in New York. Yeah. And we're given dates to leave them out. So there's something after Christmas when you see them on the sidewalks where you get a second, round on your tree.
Yeah, we do that in our neighborhood too. One year we were playing a joke on a friend. They were having a gathering, a fancy gathering right after Christmas. So my husband and I and some friends who had a truck went around and picked up about a dozen trees off the curbs and stacked them in front of their house. They came out in the morning and they couldn't open the door because all the trees were stacked in front of them.
That's hysterical. One of our attendees has written in and asked, how did the story come to you? You talked a little bit about the Romp family and walking the village with your agents, but it's a bigger story than that. How did you meet the Romps? How did you approach them? And how did this story come to be? Thank you, anonymous attendee.
Yeah, I read a story in the New York Times several years ago, and I clipped it out and kept it because the thing that struck me about the story was the fact that here you have a family. They come to the city and to sell trees for that 1 month. They live in that little camper, and the community takes them into their hearts and literally into their homes, providing them with electricity. And so I tucked it away, and I thought when it came time to think about a Christmas book for this year, I thought I'm going to tell my version of that story. So I went to the city. I found the Romps, Billy, who is still selling trees. He's not selling them with Mrs. Romp anymore because apparently living in a camper with a man for a month will break up your marriage. But his grown son and his adult, his teenage grandson and his nephew were there 2 years ago when we talked to them. So they showed us inside the trailer and people were coming by. So that was the nucleus of the idea. But I knew that my family would grow their own trees and that they would, come from North Carolina. And I knew that Carrie would feel like an outsider in her own home. But
you did this artful thing in the twists of this novel and the narrative of this novel. Is she's resistant to change, but knows she needs it.
Yeah, and I
so
hate
artful.
Change. I hate change.
Don't we all hate change? I think everybody that's listening agrees. Please, it's hard enough. We don't need to be reinventing here. But
I know. When I go to New York and the restaurants that the hotel that I used to stay in pre-COVID is no longer a hotel, or the restaurant I used to love to go to is not there anymore. I'm just sick. I think we crave rituals.
We crave
routine. But sometimes it's good to shake things up. And Carrie's mother, Bertie, is very wise. She says to Carrie, you need to go and you need to get out of your own way and step, and her mother's calling and checking in on her. See how she's doing with her brother. So I like that aspect of it. And of course, her mother calls her brother and yells at him if he's not doing right. So even when they're in their 40s, mama can call him up and bless him out.
That's so true. I also loved, I said this, I got to read it as soon as you sent me the ARE, and I loved your sense of the atmospherics and how that fed the emotions of this, because you set her up, Carrie Tolliver, in a particular way that she had obstacles to overcome. She had a million of them, and yet manages to open her heart. Is that how you feel about Christmas? Because I look forward to Christmas like almost nothing else. Are you that way?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I give myself, of course, unfortunately, lots of times my book deadlines happen at the same time as the Christmas season.
Terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. Tomorrow night, my book club Christmas party is here. So I have been decorating this house like a mad woman. We go and get the tree the day after Thanksgiving, and my husband puts up the lights, and then we go outside and cut holly and cedar and dried hydrangea out of the yard. And I start baking. I send lemon pound cakes to all my publishing team. So even in years when it seems like it's impossible, I just say, you know what? This is what I do. This is my act of love, and decorating my house and having family and friends over. That's how I express my love for them.
And even if you're alone, even if you go get a little tiny tree, put the lights on it, turn your lights down low, have your tree twinkling the whole month. It's just it's a good thing to do for your soul.
Yeah, we sit in the living room. We turn the lights down and put the Christmas tree lights on. I put on my favorite Christmas music, and my husband and I sit there by the fire and sip a glass of wine, and everything's right.
It's soothing, and everything's right in the world. Donna just wrote in and wants your lemon pound cake recipe.
Yeah, she can find that on my website. I think it's from my Beach House cookbook, and actually, I think I maybe published I'll go back and publish it again on my social media.
We'll make sure you get it.
Yeah.
Maria wants to know, do you like Douglas fir, blue spruce, pine? What do you go for when you pick a tree?
We like a Fraser fir, and that's what the Tollivers grow.
That's
in
right.
North Carolina. Yeah.
And I think they're the most fragrant. I
love the smell of a fresh cut tree. I've been known to just wander around a tree lot after I bought my tree just to get that just to get that hit of pine.
We got Emma and Emily here, and Emily wants to know, what's your favorite holiday cocktail?
Oh, I make a great holiday cocktail. It's called a Red Rooster, and it's a combination of frozen lemonade, frozen cranberry juice, and frozen orange juice. And
Vodka.
of course, you make a slushy out of it. You freeze it, and then so it's a slush, and then you put it in your glass, and you put in some ginger ale, and it's very, very festive and fun.
Fantastic. What's your favorite holiday song, Christmas caroler song?
Oh, well, it's got to be Christmas, Baby, Please Come Home by the unforgettable, immortal Darlene Love.
That's right. And you get your groove on when you do that one.
I do.
How about movie, your favorite holiday movie?
I'm old school. White Christmas, although we did watch this past weekend, we were up in the mountains for a book signing with my son and his girlfriend and her little boys, and so we watched Home Alone 1 and 2 back to back and really had a great time with it.
So great. And he just got his star.
I saw that. About time.
Macaulay Culkin, that's right. Now, Emma Foster wants to know, you've shared a little bit about your writing process, but give it to us, Mary Kay, like from the composition book. We know you do the composition, you longhand first drafts. We got a sense of your ideas because this is really your love letter to New York City and Greenwich Village.
Right.
Get that. But what is your actual process? Are you 7 days a week? Do you do a few hours each day? Give Emma the 411 here.
Well, I start with a synopsis, and that's hopefully a roadmap to what the book is going to be. I write in a really linear way. I don't get to write every day because life gets in the way. But when I am writing, I put my laptop by my bed the night before. I get up and I don't drink coffee. I drink Diet Coke, which is a repulsive habit, but I get my Diet Coke.
You have to get that caffeine.
I know. That's my caffeine. I only do one a day unless there are extreme circumstances. I crawl back in bed lots of times with my laptop and my composition book. If I can get 2,000 words in a day, that's a big writing day for me. And after I've written longhand, then after I finish a chapter, I type it into my laptop and I'm revising as I'm going. The next morning, I reread. I glance over what I've written. I don't want to revise a lot at the beginning. My feeling is that, my motto is, you can't fix what you ain't wrote. So I write all the way to the end of the book so that I get to the end of the book, because so many beginning writers get hung up on trying to write that perfect first paragraph or that perfect first chapter, and they don't publish first chapters. So I find that if I can get all the way to the end of the book, then I go back and I revise and I change things around. But I have to have a block of marble, and then I chisel. If I'm looking to carve an elephant, I'm carving away everything that is an elephant, but I got to make that block first before I can get rid of all the unelephant things, if that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. Maria wants to know, when we're talking about bright lights, do you like on your tree, do you like white lights, the colored lights, twinkles, non-twinkles, or something that, ombre?
Well, I've been married for 47 years, and being married that long is, you learn the act of compromise. My husband likes the white lights, so that's what we have. But if I had my druthers, we'd have those big jumbo C30 colored old school bulbs. But
oh, wow.
He strings the lights on the tree, so it is far from me to criticize the lights.
Well, we must never criticize them because you don't want to hang them.
No,
we're not idiots.
I don't. He puts the tree up, he puts on the lights, and then he steps away, and I fling stuff everywhere.
This is a wonderful question from Susan Celebrity. It was really cool how Carrie showed her brother up with her business strategies and ideas. I agree. It was like the girl in the family kind of rose to the top here. Was this intentional?
Yeah, I think, as I said, I've been married a long time, and men want to mansplain things to you, even things that you might maybe have a better idea. So as soon as Carrie got to the city and Murphy hauled out that notebook to tell her, this is how we've always done it. And it's, even though it's obvious to everybody this year it ain't working because they've got competition across the street, these brothers are undercutting them and underselling them with cheap half-dead trees. So it's up to Carrie to say, hey, why don't we try something different? Why don't we step outside, step outside our box a little bit and try something different? And I think that's something, a woman in my life, that's what I would do. I would say, all right, fine, but I'm going to make some wreaths, and I'm going to play some Christmas tunes. I'm going to start blasting Mariah Carey in the morning.
I love this question from Michelle in New York City. Once your book is published, do you ever read it cover to cover and rethink anything or a character?
No, but you know what? I would make myself crazy if I did that. Plus, I'm under contract for the next book, which I have a book coming out the first week of September. So there's nothing, once it's published, there's nothing I can do. It's here, it's done, it's made, it's a book. What am I going to do? Go color in it and say, hey, send it out to everybody because I changed my mind? That's not really how it happens.
Interesting.
I wish, of course.
I know.
I never am happy with the book. I'm never satisfied. I always think, I could have done that better. I could have done that differently. Why didn't I know? But
to never be satisfied keeps you at your craft, doesn't it?
It does. I think if you're not terrified of what you're doing, if you're not a little bit terrified, you're doing it wrong.
Completely agree. Doreen Pietrantoni wants to know what you're working. We got a lot of Italians up in here, Mary Kay. They love you.
I know. Pietrantoni. That must mean something.
It does. It's Peter and Anthony. Must be sons of Peter and Anthony in Italy. So she wants to know what you're working on right now.
I am getting ready to do the copy edits for this coming summer's book. Summers at the Saint will be out the first week of May. Fun. And it takes place at a family-owned high-end resort on the Georgia coast with all kinds of family skullduggery and an old unsolved mystery and a new mystery and some romance.
It's pure Mary Kay. I love it. Linda Sabatino wants to know, do you live on, do you say Tybee? Tibby?
Yeah. No, I don't live full-time on Tybee. We have a couple of vacation rental houses on Tybee. So we spend time down there as often as we can. We'll be down there, for instance, for New Year's Eve.
So Tina wants to know, what is something that readers mention to you that surprises you?
Oh, gosh. That's a good question. What is something that surprises me? I'm always surprised by what they like, the characters that mean something to them. I'm surprised when I get an email complaining that my characters say bad words. That surprises me because, I try to write three-dimensional characters who live in the real world.
You're really good about that. You stand by your choices. You never apologize for them. I think that's fantastic.
Well, it isn't as though I go and force a book into somebody's hands, and it's not as though they're not adults. And if they encountered a word, if someone encounters a word or an idea that they don't agree with or care for, they're free to keep reading. I try to be genuine. I'm genuine about what I write, and I try to write three-dimensional characters. And if you catch your fiance with your best friend and maid of honor the night before the wedding, you're gonna fling some F-bombs.
Well, yeah. Or if you drop a hammer on your foot, you're going to say it too.
That too.
You're allowed. Yeah. What I love about your career, and we're getting some questions about your career. You're the New York Times bestselling author of the Beach House Cookbook, and you've written over 20 novels, including The Weekend.
Over 30.
All right. So maybe this is from, who knows? So more than 30, including The Weekenders, Ladies' Night, because people are writing in their favorite titles, Spring Fever, Summer Rental, The Fixer Upper, Deep Dish, Blue Christmas, Savannah Breeze, Hissy Fit. Somebody wrote in, is in love with Hissy Fit, Little Bitty Lies, and Savannah Blues. There's a wonderful musical, lyrical quality to your work that I think you get credit for, but I'd like to heap a little more on today because your readers love the worlds that you create. We feel like you're living in those worlds. Now, is that also intentional?
Absolutely.
All right. So you let your imagination go wild within the world you create.
Yeah, I wanna drag you into the world of my book. And I want you, once you're there, to want to stay, to pull up a chair.
Right.
I'm writing for me. I wouldn't write a book about characters that I couldn't find anything to like about. I'll never write an unreliable narrator. That's not the kind of book I write. That's not the kind. So I'm writing the books for me. But I feel like my readers, if I'm genuine about what I write, then my readers will react to it and relate to it.
Candy Newell loves the narrators on your audios. Are you involved in that process?
Not a bit.
You just let them choose whoever it's going to be. Yeah.
Yeah. Kathleen McInerney does a great job. And I know people who narrate their own books. That I think that's such a very specific, amazing skill to have that I don't necessarily have. And I really believe in letting somebody do the job that they're great at. I hope I'm good at writing the books, and then we'll get a great narrator, and she can put her own spin on the book. I just spent time with a great audiobook narrator, Julia Whalen, last month. And the things she was telling me about the tricks of the trade and the things she goes through before recording, it's really amazing. So I have huge, huge respect for folks who do that job, but I'm not one of them.
It is. It's a hard job, but boy, when they do it well, it changes your whole feeling about reading. What's your favorite Christmas ornament? This is from Sharon Parson.
Oh, I have a bunch of vintage shiny brights from the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
And, one year our house was going to be on the neighborhood Christmas tour, and our Christmas tree fell not once, but twice. And
if you don't get it right from first time you screw those bolts in, it's over.
Yeah, my husband, basically bungee corded it to the wall after that. But, I have some special ones. And when I've been on tour, people have been so sweet making ornaments for me, travel trailer ornaments with Christmas trees on top. So I really treasure those too.
It's really hard for me to describe to everybody that's within the sound of our voices how popular you are. You are so beloved, and it is so deserved. And you really serve your readers. I mean, they're writing in about some of your readers just wait for the holiday books. They just wait for them. They can't wait. And Barbara wants to know, do you prefer writing the Christmas books, or do you like to do the other themes? She loves both, but she loves a holiday read.
Yeah, I like doing them both. A holiday, a Christmas novella, although I read a long Christmas novella. This thing is 288 pages. A lot of them are 100 pages or less. It's a nice palate cleanser because, I'm writing a book with some drama and some trauma in it. And then to come to write a Christmas book where I've already know from the beginning that I promised you a happy, hopeful ending. That's fun. And putting myself in the world, that Christmas world. And, I'm writing it in the summertime, lots of times. But you're really having
to push your own Christmas spirit there a little bit.
Yeah. The first time I wrote one, Blue Christmas, I was writing it at the beach in Savannah in August. And I'd never written a Christmas book before. And my amazing editor at the time, Carolyn Marino at Harper, she said, just go away and shut everything else out. So I went down to the beach. I rented a cottage. It was August. It was so hot. But I had a little boom box with a cassette tape of Phil Spector's Merry Christmas to Christmas, My Christmas Present to You, I think it's called. And that's why I'm so fond of Darlene Love and those Shirelles and the Ronettes.
Darlene Love is a love. She's an amazing person. And I love that you were inspired by her. And I'm going to tell her when I see her next time.
Oh, tell her she has a huge fan in me.
Well, you know what? I'll get her the book. Boy, that's what I'm going to tell her. I'll get her the book. I'll send it over. Here's a great, okay. Emily said, any more Callahan House Mouse books in the future? She loved them.
Yeah, I wrote she's talking about a series I did when I started my writing career. I wrote 8 of those, and I had a lot of fun. They were all set mysteries, set in and around Atlanta. But, I did that to start with, and I'm so proud of those books, and I love them. But I can't look backwards, and you write what you're published. In the end, you write what your publisher wants to publish. So, I never say never. But, for one thing, Callahan's mother, Edna, was inspired by my mother, Sue, and my mother's been gone for, unfortunately, many years now. It would be hard to go back and write Edna, knowing that Sue isn't there flicking her cigarette and second guessing me.
Now, this is a great question from Elizabeth Bancroft, because I think that this was the Mary Kay Andrews was the 20, but we know also under your name, Kathy Hogan Trocheck, that you wrote at least 10 novels, maybe more.
Yeah.
So this is a great question. Elizabeth wants to know, who came first, MKA or KHT? And which one of those have you enjoyed being more?
KHT came first. I wrote mysteries under my real name, and then I had an idea for a book. I wanted to write a book that would appeal to a wider audience. There are people who don't like mysteries. So when Savannah Blues, when I had that idea, I decided, let's try it under a pseudonym. I'm proud of both of those. It's like you went to college and then you went to grad school, and those are both phases of your life that hopefully, were building blocks for what you're doing now.
It's wonderful. And it always serves one of your great themes in your book, which is reinvention of self to get the most out of life. I mean, to the readers, I can't impress this upon them. Now you call it a happy ending. I call them the arc of the woman narratives, where you have to change your life. And some of them go through horrible things and trauma and grief and pain, but you pull them through it. You pull them through it, and you're hopeful. You're hopeful when you're done reading, which is what's a better gift you can give a reader?
Yeah, and she has to find the strength within herself to find a better place for herself. So, there can be no wonderful fairy princess rescuing her. She's got to rescue herself.
Absolutely. Well, you empower us to believe when we're reading that we can turn any situation around.
Yeah, sometimes it takes some doing.
And sometimes it takes a cute guy.
Sometimes it takes a shower. I always get my best ideas in the shower.
And then you listen to Darlene Love. Folks love the names of the characters in your books, like Elmo is one of the twins. Where do you get your inspiration for your character names?
The twins, I was talking to Billy Romp, and a mom came along with a stroller with twins in it. And I just thought, okay, well, that's Oscar and Elmo and Oscar. And I don't know that, I used to get them a lot from obituaries. I like old fashioned names. So obituaries are a great source for names. Carrie is named Carrie because my grandparents on my father's side were Irish immigrants. And I always thought for many years that my grandfather was from Cary and my grandmother was from County Clare. And recently my cousins did some ancestry, and I learned that my grandmother is actually from County Armagh. And Armagh is not a good middle name. So she stayed Carrie Clare. I always thought, oh, someday I'll have a child and I'll name her Carrie Clare. And it's a good thing I didn't, because Claire is not anything in our family. But I kept it anyway.
That also would be funny, though. that was
Yeah.
accidental. Before we let you go, Mary Kay, this is a wonderful question from Gina Salas, and she's been very patient. Mary Kay, do you have any advice? Can you give us your best advice for aspiring writers?
You can't fix what you ain't wrote. Um, it's the same advice Hines gives Carrie in the book.
Absolutely.
Believe in yourself and get out of your own way. Yes, we all suffer from self-doubts, and I suffer from imposter syndrome, just like most writers I know. But at the end of the day, all you can do is sit down and do your best. Treat whatever it is you're doing creatively, whether you're writing a song or painting or writing a book, whatever. Respect that. Give yourself, carve that time out of your life, and no one else gets to claim that time but you.
Mm-hmm,
And that's what I did when I was a newspaper reporter. Wednesday nights were my time to write after I put the kids to bed, and my husband knew that was my holy time, and anybody knew, don't call, she's working on a book.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Gina, that to our reader, Gina, that's listening, I think you just really summed up what we have to think about if we're going to take time to do something we care about, and maybe it's a new venture, which is to own your time.
Definitely. I think women, we feel ourselves pulled in so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
But if we, I think it's hard for us to claim the time and to claim this urge to be creative. People think, oh, I have writer friends whose husbands treat their careers like their funny little hobby. And when that happens, it helps to have a supportive partner, as you know, Adri.
Oh, it does. It does. And not only to hang the Christmas tree lights like your cute husband, but more than that you have to have that support system. It's so important.
You do.
It's so important. We want to thank Barnes & Noble for this incredible opportunity.
Yes.
I'm just going to say to folks, you don't even have to put a bow on this book. You could just give it, look how gorgeous it is. I loved it. I loved it, Mary Kay. I loved it. And I think that you are a national treasure. I can't wait till your books come out. I can't wait to read the one in the spring. You also serve the writing community. You bring authors on your show, Friends in Fiction, which you can find and just put in the bar, in the prompt, Friends in Fiction, and Mary Kay will come up. And you do it with your beautiful fellow writers over there. And I love that too. So you're not only serving with great books, you're putting books in the hands of readers. And I want everybody to get this and put it under your Christmas. Listen, it's the easiest thing to shop for is a book. Go to your Barnes & Noble, pick it up. They have plenty of signed copies. And for those of you who ordered the book as part of this, you're going to receive it in 8 to 10 days.
Yeah. And
way in time for Christmas.
Oops, my camera fell. I was at my Barnes & Noble this morning in Atlanta signing stock.
Good. There's plenty.
And I got there and the manager was vacuuming his office because he thought we were going to do the virtual in his office.
So he cleaned for nothing.
He cleaned for nothing.
Sorry to the manager being in there.
Yeah, he has a clean office, so it worked out just as
well. It worked out for him, and it worked out for us. I'm honored to have been included in this. You know I'm your super fan. I love you so much. I love your work and how you make the world more beautiful just by moving through it and telling these great stories. Beautiful writing. You cannot go wrong. No, thank you all for coming. People are thanking us. Thank you, Mary Kay, for being here for this great Christmas book. Run, get it, everybody. Plenty of copies of B&N. Order them, pick them up, however you want to do it. You'll have them in time, way in time for Christmas. And signed copies are everywhere.
Thank you, Adri.
Thank you. Lots of love. You're the best. And we'll see you all very soon. And a happy, blessed Christmas and New Year, everybody. Thank you.